Hello, it's Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Kind of the blog post we want to share with you, of course, review the latest in social media and technology. These are two phones we're putting up in our Versus series. The iPhone 5 is brand new. You can see it before you here on the left. And we're comparing with all the other phones that are in our arsenal. Be sure to check into all the other iPhone 5 comparisons we're doing against other phones in the marketplace on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe. And be sure to subscribe to the ChrisVossShow.com mailing list so you get to all the latest videos that we have there. And all the coolest covers and cases and all that good stuff we're covering too. So let's get into this. We're going to take and pretty much compare these two phones side by side. The HTC EVO V 4G that you can get through Virgin Mobile, the one on your right, is a very popular phone. Its videos have done very well for us in the comments, so we know it's a very popular phone with Virgin Mobile users. The phone on the left is through my account with AT&T, and the phone on the right is from Virgin Mobile at virginmobileus.com. That's virginmobileus.com. In essence, be sure to check them out. Thanks to them for providing their HTC EVO V 4G. So let's talk about what this thing does. One thing I do want to point out here, there's several things that you have that are very different here. We don't want to really compare companies, but with AT&T, you get the phone at a discounted rate. You pay usually a much higher monthly rate. With the Virgin Mobile, you'll buy the phone outright, so you end up paying $200 or $300. Of course, they have ones that are cheaper. And you end up paying, I think it's a $35 flat fee or $20, $25 flat fee. It's a pretty incredible deal, and some people find they can save more money that way. Some people like having the AT&T service. It's really up to you. Be sure to check out both their websites so you can see what is working for you. Let's talk about the specifications. We're going to break these down. The Apple iPhone 5 has a height of 4.87. It's running on iOS 6, which is the latest software that just came out. It has a width of 2.31 inches and a thickness of 0.30 inches. It has a weight of 3.95 ounces. It's a 4-inch screen at 640 by 1136 pixels, 320 ppi. Has a capacitive multi-touch touchscreen. Battery standby time is 225 hours. Talk time on 3G is 8 hours. Capacity is 1440 milliamps. It houses a Apple A6 dual-core 100 megahertz roughly processing chip. Now it has what's called a V7 architecture to it that's super designed to get the highest speeds out of the chips, which is pretty amazing. So the megahertz that it runs on, or gigahertz it runs on, is fairly deceiving, so be sure to read into that. The camera is an 8 megapixel camera with 1920 by 1080, which gives you 1080p HD, 30 frames per second. 1.2 megapixels on the front-facing camera is where you're at there. And other than that, it's an awesome little phone. It's been rated under benchmarking as one of the highest rated smartphones on the market. Let's move on over to the HTC EVO V 4G. It's a great little phone. I've used it before, and I like it. It has 3D camera on the back, which is one thing that's fun we'll get into. Its dimensions are 4.96 by 2.56 by 0.47, so it's a little bit thicker than the iPhone 5. It weighs 6 ounces. It has a display of an LCD color TFT resolution 540 by 960 pixels. It has the Android platform that runs on it, and we'll see what that version is here in a second. I believe it's 4.0 that it comes with, and we may have upgraded this. It has a processor, 1.2 gigahertz Snapdragon, dual core, 4 gigabytes internal storage, plus an 8 gigabyte card that they give you. It's also expandable beyond that with a SD card that you can take and put into the device to get more expansion from the memory. It will go up to 32 gigabytes that you can take and do. So very cool that way in being able to get more resolution out of the device and all that good stuff. The let's go ahead and talk about the phones and what they do. You can see here from the front, this one does say Sprint on it, I should point out. I get a lot of people with questions on that. This was sent to us by the Virgin Mobile PR department. Sprint does own Virgin Mobile. If you have any questions about that, feel free to Google it. And so by them owning it, it runs on their network, so thereby the Sprint thing. But it is a Virgin Mobile phone, and it boots up with Virgin Mobile, and we use the Virgin Mobile accounting system to reset it every month and pay our bill. So both are awesome phones. You have, of course, the Apple running on the iOS 6 product, and you have the Android working on the Android product. Let's take a look, and we'll see what our settings are on this one. And it's been a little while since I've used it, so you'll have to excuse me if I seem a little rusty with the controls. This one has a page down, page up, where a lot of them have a left to right sequence that they can use. I believe this one's been updated quite a bit to some of the latest software that is out there, so let's take a look. Yes, it has the 4.03 Android system on it, which is really cool, and it has HTC Sense version on it. Hopefully it will eventually be upgraded from there, but it's a little brick of a phone. As you can see here on the left hand side of the top of the iPhone 5, you have the front-facing camera, you have the speaker for calls, you have the, this is the front-facing camera. This is actually a sensor that senses your face when it comes close, or anything comes close to the screen, and it turns the screen off so that you're not getting blasted with light. There's a home button here on the bottom, and of course you can swipe from left to right, right to left, and all that good stuff to get through the menu. With the HTC and the Android product, you can see here on the top we have a speaker, we have a front-facing camera, we have several different buttons to choose from. We have a home button, a menu button, we have a back button, and we have a search button where you can search for stuff either on the phone or it will take you onto the internet, which is pretty cool. So they're pretty much operating on some of the latest software you can get. At least the Apple is on the HTC. A lot of phones still don't have Jelly Bean. A lot of phones still don't have 4.04. So it's a pretty rockin' little phone when it comes down to it. Okay, so here you can see the bottom of both devices. We have an earphone jack, a nice little speaker grill, plug for a sync, and power charging. Of course, this has been redesigned with Apple. On the bottom, we just have a little plug you can see where you can pull this off. Small microphone hole, I believe, right here. Okay, so you can see here on the top we have the power button on both these devices. On the HTC we have a earphones button, a small microphone area. It does look like the HTC is much thicker than the iPhone, but the HTC on the top part is a little raised because of the camera being raised in the back, so that gives it a little deception, although it is thicker. Down the left side of these devices you can see a mute switch, a volume up and down buttons, and then on the left side of the HTC we have your power sync cable plug for your micro USB. Down the right side of the devices we have a nano SIM card hole for the iPhone 5. We also have on the HTC a big shutter button, which is nice to have, and then we have a switch that switches between 2D and 3D photographs. Yes, this phone takes 3D photographs, which is pretty fun and pretty cool. You can see here we have a blacked out rocker button that might be hard to see, but it's a volume up and volume down button for the HTC. Okay, so here you can see the backs of both devices. The iPhone has a nice kind of a metal background, if you will, with two glass tops at both the top and the bottom for the antennas. I really like this look of on the iPhone. Now this little strange black thing that you see that's covering up part of the camera eye is actually a, you can see the silver camera eye underneath it. There's a small microphone hole here, and then the flash area here. What we did is we have a magnetic thing that sticks our magnetic lenses on to make different cool shots like fisheye and things of that nature. Now with the HTC, this is a lot of fun. You can switch between 2D and 3D, you can see there, and you have two cameras actually and two flashes. How about that? You can see the small speaker for the HTC that's there also. Now what this does is your back will pop off of this, and you know, it's a thick phone, but it definitely feels like a good strong horse of a phone when it comes down to it. It's got a battery that you could possibly pull out and remove in here, and then it should have a place for the HD or I'm sorry, for the expandable micro SD card, which will go right in there so that you can take and save pictures and everything else to the device. So really cool that way. And we had a lot of fun making 3D photos with the HTC EVO V 4G. It's been quite fun to do, and unfortunately you can't do that with the iPhone. So let's get into that and more about what it does. Now let's talk about some more about the menus and how they work. There is pull-down notifications that you can take and get on both devices. You can see here you can have different things. The Apple product is starting to have some widgets. You have more widgets, of course, that are available to you on the Android product. With the Apple product, most people are familiar with their service and setup. There's not a whole lot you can do. You can't create folders. One of the things that people do like about the Android product is you can do much more customization. You can, of course, create different folders, but you can also see here that you can create different widgets that you can include into your system. You can see some widgets here and everything else. Here's another widget. Here's some other stuff. You literally can go into a widget system and create all sorts of different things. Now they look differently compared upon which OS you're doing, but you can see here there's a lot of customization you can take and do. Different widgets you can add into your screens where you can't do that with the iOS system. So a lot of people do like that feature, and it makes a difference in the quality of their experience in Android, and so some people really like that, and for that reason they stick with the Google product. Let's talk some more about, let's go ahead and do a speed test that we'll do here for you. We'll pull up the latest speed test that we took and did, and it looks like I got to get used to pulling down instead of up. Now what this will be here that you see before you is the speed test that we got from the results of the device using the Sprint network, and of course this is Virgin Mobile too. You can see in some cases it was high and low, and I think in most cases we were getting, I believe, 4G speeds sometimes. I think these were our 3G speeds in here, and then these were our 4G speeds that we were on average getting with the device. And so those are the results we are getting. Now as you can see here, we have the Wi-Fi turned on both these devices. What we're doing is showing you what results we got in the past with the results log that have come in the system. And we don't really want to compare services here. Here's the AT&T numbers that we showed where we did a speed test with their system, so you can compare them a little bit in the type of numbers that you're going to get between each of them respectively. So those are the numbers that you're looking at there. Okay, so what you can see here before you is the Geekbench numbers between the two different devices. You can find these apps, of course, on both systems, and the great thing is you can follow along at home and benchmark your device. Now obviously the HTC EVO V is probably, I think, close to a year old or getting there. It's a much different device when it comes to its build and everything that's in it. The latest toy out on the market is the iPhone 5. So sometimes if a phone is 6 months old, it's a whole nother age of a phone when it comes down to it. So it looks like we got a 1649 score and 662 score against each other. What we're seeing out of the iPhone 5 is it's pretty much the highest rated smartphone benchmarking that we're seeing. One element of that, though, is some people are saying the International Galaxy S3 Samsung is beating the iPhone 5. So I don't have a way to independently verify that, so take that information and run with it how you may. Integer performance 1266 versus 554. Floating point performance 2114 versus 673. Memory performance 1860 versus 931, and 943. Stream performance versus 364. Okay, so what we've done is run the Passmark performance benchmarking mobile test on here. As you can see here, the system performed on the Apple 5 3702, and the system on the HTC 1174. The CPU performed at 25,051 compared to the CPU tests on the HTC at 2627. Is a rockin' CPU they built. They really did with the Apple A6. The disk is 143331 for read and write, and for the disk for the HTC 652, memory 2277 against 1531 and 1306. Graphics tests on the HTC towards the 2D, the 1623 is the score for the A5, or I'm sorry, the 5. The 3D is 1756 score against 588. So there you can see the breakdowns of the scores between the two devices. Obviously, the Apple iPhone 5 is really kicking butt when it comes to its performance. Okay, so here you can see we've got with the GL benchmark 2.1.5 benchmarking, we've got on the iPhone 6,777 frames at 60 frames per second. It was able to process on the HTC 5,049 frames at 45 frames per second. Okay, so here we've taken and done a SunSpider JavaScript benchmark results. This will tell us how fast the browsers work and with the processors in the device, etc., on each device. Now, the lower score here is what you're looking for, not a higher score, because it's the time that it takes to serve up all the stuff for a browser. So in this case, it came out with a 985.2 MS score against the HTC 2467.9 MS score. We also tried to run a browser mark, but since the launch of the iPhone, the browser mark website has been down, probably because everyone's using it. So we can't bring in that score. Alright, so here you can see us. We're doing a Skype call between the iPhone 5 and Skype. This is across a localized network. You can see the results we're getting here. Pretty good front-facing camera. Great results so far. Not perfect, of course. The front-facing camera is only like 1.2. So there you go. But you can see how well it performs on a localized Wi-Fi and a Skype video call. Okay, so here you can see we're doing a front-facing camera test using a Skype call where we're calling an iPad 3 across the system. You can see how this feeds. Now this is across a localized Wi-Fi, and you can see how this processes data in sending it to me and how good I look through the camera. You can see that on the iPad 3, of course, as that data is coming through. So this is how it performs across, say, a front-facing Skype call. With the iPhone, it has a very simple camera and not a lot of customization you can do with the Samsung S3 as an example. You do have the ability to control your flash modes in both video and shutter camera mode. You can add some grid, HDR. There's some panorama here, which is pretty interesting. This is a newer thing from the iOS where you can screen roll across it. It's up to you. I don't do many panorama photos. Play with it. I don't know if it's great or not. There's some people saying apps are better that are out there in the marketplace, and since Apple's new to it, maybe it's not as good. There's front-facing, rear-facing camera. Of course, you can switch between. You have a simple switch here to switch between video mode and camera mode. You've got your shutter button here on the right-hand side, and that's pretty much it. When you do take a photo and it comes out of post-edit, you have the ability to edit out just a smidgen a little bit. You can rotate the picture, you can enhance the brightness, which is automatically controlled, take out red eye, and you can also crop a picture. That's pretty much the post-editing procedures you have that are built into the iPhone. Keep in mind you can add apps and do post-editing, and that's what most people do. But we just want to show you the menus so that you can get a good idea as to how they work. Okay, so let's talk about the camera on the EVO. Now, one of the things I really liked about this camera is the fun of playing with the 3D graphics. And they have a specialized screen that they've made on the device which enables you to see the 3D photos and videos without the need for glasses. And what you can do is you can upload these to YouTube, ordain them as 3D videos, and you can play them for friends, families. I sent them up to a couple of my nephews who have the glasses at home, 3D, that they can take and watch on YouTube. So it was a lot of fun. So let's get into it. We'll show you some different things. You've got your mode settings over here where you can switch between video, front, back, and photo. You've got scenes. This is pretty normal for most of your Android products where they have different scenes that you can take and get. Some have more than others. You can control your flash, of course. You've got settings here where you can control self-timers, image adjustment, white balance, ISO, resolution. You can downgrade and upgrade. Review duration 3 seconds, resolution 6.9, face detection, auto upload, all that sort of good stuff you can adjust with these. Same thing when you take this into video mode. You get customizations that you can take and do image adjustments, stereo recording, review duration, all that sort of good stuff. So lots of cool stuff you can do. One of the other things they do give you with the HTC product is they give you the ability to see what's happening on the screen beforehand. You can choose different effects to kind of preview and then also shoot the photographs in. So that's kind of fun for most people. They really like that, those sort of elements. And of course you have a gallery here. You can see we have a zoom in and out. So you have all those different controls and settings you can take and do. You can of course click these at any time and get into them. You can also see the quality button here where you can adjust your quality, downgrade it. Sometimes it's nice for if you want to send a text message, an MMS message, you can take and do that also. Let's take a look at the pictures this thing takes. We're going to skip through some of these first ones here, and we'll start with low light photos. Now this is a low light photo taken with a flash here, and we try and put something that's got a lot of color to it. You can see it takes a great photo for the pixels that the camera's working at. You can see here brightens up the subject matter really well. Now this is a close range shot. Further out tends to lose a lot of brightness, of course, because there's only so much power you have in these small lamps that come in these small cell phones. But let's take a look at a this is a lamp version of a low light situation. You can see here very close up it takes great photos. Color comes in really well, comes in very clear. You can see though once we start going back out to a farther away shot that the lamps won't light up much. So you're going to get great close-up photos in low-light situations, or videos I should say, videos and photos in both those cases. So there is that. Here's a well-lit situation, of course, here that we've done, and you can see here that it takes good photos. It's good for what the camera does. Are they the greatest photos we've ever seen in the world taken on video? No. But it does an okay job with what's going on. It gets the details right, the colors are there, and everything else. It's not as sharp as some of the higher megapixels I see, but it's not expected to be. Here's a just an average light photo you can see here. It's a good looking photo, and then of course there's different adjustments that we could make to improve the quality of this pre-production with the ISO settings and all that good stuff. We just shot a stock photo here. Now let's talk about some of the fun stuff you can do with 3D. If you can kind of see what we've done is, and you can flip this switch back and forth to flip between 3D and 2D, and there's also the shutter button, which is great to have. But we'll show you the 3D version, and you may not see it very well across the screen, but it's very cool in real life when you're holding the phone. But you can see here an example of how it looks cool 3D, and I'm not sure how much of that you're going to pick up. We tried to do a video that would kind of give you that effect, but I'm not sure how much of that's coming across the screen. But it does a very good job of it. It's really, really cool to see on the screen. You can also take three-dimensional photos. And can you see how that's? You can see how that's moving there, giving a three-dimensional look. And depending upon how you hold the screen, it comes across three-dimensional. So it's a lot of fun. Like I said, I sent some videos that were three-dimensional. My dogs running around up to my nephews in Utah, and they were able to use their 3D glasses to look at it and have some fun with it. So I really liked it. It's been kind of cool to play with. It may not be the greatest camera in the world, but hey, you got 3D, so there you go.